Hi, my name is Carrie. You might know me as K Warning or from my shop 8-Bit Stitch. Today I have 10 cross-stitch terms you need to know. I'm saving the best for last. I hope you're excited. Let's just get right into it. So the first cross-stitch term I have for you is railroading. I actually don't do railroading, but I have known people who do. It is where you take your needle up through the backside and in between the two threads to help your cross-stitch lay more flat. I have never really come across a time where I felt like I needed to do railroading. I feel like my stitches lay pretty flat already. However, who knows? I might try it on a project to see what it's like. The next term is English stitching. So English stitching is actually what I do. It is where you actually complete your stitch completely each time. You complete it completely. So you will finish one side of the X and then the other side of the X before moving on to the next stitch. And on that note, the next term is Danish stitching or stitching Dutch. That is where you stitch one side of the X throughout your section and then go back and finish it out later. I have noticed that a lot of people will do this when trying to have a nicer back. The next term I've got for you is floss. That's one that we probably all already knew, but it is the thread that you are using to cross stitch. Next we have gridding. So if you've seen my how to read a cross stitch pattern video, you know that the cross stitch pattern is a grid system, usually in 10 by 10 sections. So what some stitchers will do is grid their fabric ahead of time to help them with the counting process. You can get pre-gridded Aida, or you can grid it out with markers or thread, depending on your preference. If you've got a full coverage piece, getting a pre-gridded Aida works really great. If you have something that can be washed afterwards, you could get a water-soluble thread, or you can get a soluble marker. And if you just have good old thread sticking around, you can pull the thread out from your piece once you're finished. This is really great on full coverage pieces or very large pieces that use a lot of different colors. That goes into our next term, blending. Blending is where you'll take two or more colors and put them together to create a new blended color in your piece. Mostly done in very large patterns or very detailed, like photographic image patterns. And actually my next two terms kind of go hand in hand with that same idea of very large, intricate pieces. The first one is parking. Parking is when you will work a color of thread in one section and park it in the next section in which you are going to use it. This makes it really handy to not have to finish out your thread every time you want to move on to a different color. And then it's kind of just there for you ready to use the next time you need it. The next term is cross country. This is kind of the alternative to parking. So cross country is where you would pick one color, work on that single color throughout your entire piece until you are entirely done with that color before moving on to the next color. And doing cross country can kind of create what our next term is, confetti stitches. When you're doing cross country, you'll see that as you put in each color, you've kind of got these random flecks of colors around, especially if you're doing a very large detailed piece. And we call those confetti stitches because they look like a splash of confetti. And the last term for you today, I know we've all been waiting for this one, is frogging. To frog is to undo your stitches. And why is it called frogging? Well, I have heard that it started by a stitcher saying they needed to rip out their stitches, which then evolved to rip it, which sounded like ribbit, and then evolved into stitchers just calling it frogging. That's what I've heard. Let me know if you've heard something different. I remember telling my husband this story one time and he literally just looked at me and went, "Seriously?" Yep, that's where frogging came from. And what's super fun is frogging is universal between cross stitch, crochet, and knitting. Let me know if you do another craft where frogging is described to undo the progress that you've already done. And that's it, guys. 10 more terms that you should know while cross stitching. I hope you liked this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, happy stitching.